Want to welcome to the program right now from the Independent Women's Forum. Julie Gunlock is with us. Julie, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am excellent. All right. Are you ready for CPAC this week?
Oh, yeah. I'll be on Radio Row doing a couple interviews. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. All right. Well, hopefully you'll be able to pop by and say hi to us. We'll be there on, I believe they call it Broadcast Row now.
I always bring the kids because they like to see your whole setup. They think you're very impressive.
You are very brave to bring your three young boys with you to CPAC. I have a hard time keeping track of John Pop, and he's a grown man. So it's a family friendly event, but there are so many people there. I wouldn't trust my own kids. I know.
Does John know that he's going to be watching the boys while I go down to have a drink? No. Sorry, John.
It's Pop's playpen. We'll just set up a little area where Pop can watch all of the kids. How about that?
That sounds perfect. You're good with the titles. I think he could open up a new business, Pop's Playpen. That sounds great.
Franchise is available near you. They have meats and cheeses for snack time every afternoon. It's fantastic. You have a piece with our friend Celia Meyer. In the news press, don't be fooled by liquor fear-mongering. Oh, yeah. Julie, we're fear-mongering about liquor again?
Yeah, well, you know what's interesting is I wrote this, and Celia and I wrote this in response to an article that was written in the same Florida outlet. The CEO of an alcohol-selling business, like, one of these Total Wine, that's for the... one of these sort of big box stores.
ABC Fine Wine and Spirits, I believe.
Yes,
is the
thank
name
you.
Of it.
Yes. But it's one of these, it's one of these sort of places, these big wine stores and beer stores. And he wrote this piece saying that they really should not allow the sale of hard liquor. So we're talking about, spirits, alongside beer and wine. And, it was pretty obvious what he was doing. He's sort of protecting his own business because he was saying, those are really dangerous liquors, and those should be relegated to a different kind of liquor store. And, I live in Virginia. Celia actually was a former Florida resident, and so this really resonated with her. And as a mother, it resonated with me because I find it very frustrating when I have to make two stops. I have to go to the grocery store, and then I have to stop the car again, get the kids out. And frankly, I don't want them running around a liquor store where everything is glass. Okay, and, there's nothing else for them to look at, and I sort of have to cordon them off in another section. And so I think it's ridiculous. And so this guy was also saying that this would somehow, add to the rebellion of teenagers, that, teenagers could run wild in these stores. I mean, there are already laws on the books restricting teenagers, well, until you're a certain age, but restricting teenagers and young adults from getting these items. I mean, it's not like, they are restricted in grocery stores, but in liquor stores, they can go wild. I mean, the same laws apply. So it was classic, it was a classic case of trying to protect his business. I understand, I understand, but, the public should see through these claims, and policymakers should never do these kinds of policies unless there's something actually in the public interest. And in this case, there really isn't. So again, this is fear-mongering on this issue, and it's just wrong-headed, and it's going to lead to bad policy.
So a couple of thoughts here. First of all, in some states, there's actually a law. Oklahoma, I had this law when we lived there. They may have gotten rid of it in the years since we moved. But when our now 16-year-old son was a baby, my wife, and in Oklahoma at the time, you could buy in grocery stores 3.2% beer, what we called near beer in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
If you wanted anything above 3.2%, you had to go to a liquor store. You wanted wine, you had to go to a liquor store. You wanted spirits, you had to go to a liquor store. So my wife is going to pick up a bottle of wine for I think it was some sort of party, some sort of housewarming party. She had our 2-month-old son with her in the car seat, right, takes him in, and the guy says you can't bring him in.
Unbelievable.
He's 2 months old, right? And you're not allowed to bring anybody under the age of 21 in the liquor store in Oklahoma. And so, yeah, right? So the what the preferred thing to do, I suppose, would be to leave your kid in the car while you go into the liquor store, because otherwise the 2-month-old might grab something off the shelf, right? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Virginia does not have this law, but one of the other aspects of this that you're writing about, it's not just that in Florida, liquor is the only thing sold in these stores. Like, there are party supplies, there are snacks, there are, mixers, there are sodas. They've already sort of blended that line between the liquor store and the convenience store, right? But now, God forbid, and look, I don't live in Florida. I don't have a dog in this fight, but that it does seem like a really weak sauce argument as to why the law shouldn't change.
And also, okay, so this guy, this Bales guy, he also suggests, this is what was so fascinating about this article. And again, look, I get it. He's the CEO of a company, and he is trying to protect his company from competition. He is welcome to do that, but he's not welcome to make up facts. And one thing that he does is he says that he suggests in his piece, his original piece, that spirits, meaning hard liquor, if you want, like vodka and gin, and he said that he mentioned they're fundamentally different and that they're somehow more dangerous. Okay, and like they're stronger. He used this weird language to suggest somehow that beer and wine and hard liquor are different, which is so wrong. It's a matter of consumption. So, the idea that a guy who's the CEO of a wine and beer company is suggesting doesn't really understand that the same amount of alcohol and understanding the scientific fact about dose is really weird. With alcohol, any alcohol, it's about dose. So you can have, a standard serving of beer, a standard serving of wine, a standard serving of hard liquor, and it affects the body the same. And so he was suggesting there is some sort of difference, which is fundamentally wrong. But again, he's obviously playing these games. This is protectionism. Raw protectionism. He's just trying to shield his company. This is why we always talk about how big business often loves big government, right? Because they know government will go in there and pass these restrictions, these bans, these regulations that will protect them. They don't really, they care about freedom when they hate regulations when it harms their business, but if it protects their business, God bless. So look, at IWF, we really feel like, we generally want businesses, we want the government to help businesses, but not when it comes at the cost of other businesses. And this is exactly this kind of case.
Talking again with Julie Gunlock of the Independent Women's Forum. And I'm curious, Julie, I realize you're not going to have a hard percentage, but how frequently are these sort of nanny state activities tied into a protectionism of one sort or another?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I find this all the time. There's this bill that I believe it. Oh gosh, was it? I don't want to say the senator because I'm not sure which one, but I have this feeling it was from California. And they were proposing this bill to restrict making sort of soap and makeup in your kitchen and to sell to your friends. And they were saying that this could potentially be damaging or harmful, right? And of course, guess who got behind it? The big cosmetic companies. So of course they did, because a cosmetic company might not find that one little lady or a nun. I'm not kidding you. It really, who it harmed? It harmed like nuns who make soap in their kitchens. But they might not find one is harmful. But if you've got 1 million of these home cooks in their kitchens making soaps and making other, makeup lines, then it really does cut into the profits of the major makeup companies. And so, of course, they got behind it. They loved these restrictions, right? So you have big companies that are getting behind regulations that really harm the little the person on Etsy, or the person selling at a farmer's market. You're a farmer. You and your wife, produce things. I mean, you know all about this. That it took a lot of work to get Virginia to lift some of the restrictions on products that are being produced by small farmers. So these things happen all the time. You've constantly got crony capitalism really harming small startups, small producers. That's a real problem. And
individuals. Julie, listen, unfortunately, we are almost out of time, but thank you, as always, for coming on the program, and we'll see you and the kiddos in a couple of days at the Conservative Political Action Conference.
Yes. Make sure, Pop has all of his props and treats for the kids.
All right. Meats and cheeses galore. We'll see you there. Julie Gunlock from the Independent Women's Forum with us here on Cam & Company.